So here in this fifth module, I'll be covering basic, starting from basic file permissions. Then we'll see user administration, how to create users, how to create groups, how to add users to the groups, those topics. Then again I will come back to the permissions part. So initially I will explain about the basic permissions, then we'll go to the next level, that would be setting up HUID and GUID, sticky bit. There are some other concepts. Okay, so we'll go with the basic ones, then go to creating users and all. Again we'll come back to setting up permissions and all. Okay, we have started with this. In Linux, primarily there are three types of users. Okay, so here if you observe this RWX, this is for the owner, who is the admin user here, and he belongs to a group called as admin user. Okay, this is the owner field, admin field. So this is the permissions, these three. There will be three permissions for every user. Okay, that is read, write, execute. In the same order, I mean the numeric notation would be 4 to 1. Read, write, execute, 4 to 1. Okay, so the first three is for the owner, the next three is for the group to which this particular user belongs to, and the next three fields is for others other than owner, group, whoever rest is in the system. Last three fields are applicable for that user. Okay, now here so the basic permissions, these are the three. I'll just show you the numeric notation. Say you have something here, take common file. Alright, so if you want to change the permissions of this particular file, so we use chmod. So by default 777. Okay, each number 4 plus 2 plus 1, 4 plus 2 plus 1, 4 plus 2 plus 1, space, file name. Okay, so there it will get RWX. Alright, so similarly, so this is the easiest way. Say if you want to change a specific, using, there is two different notations. One is the numeric way using chmod, another one is chmod say, so user, group, others. Alright, so I'll handle user, u minus, I'll say x. Okay, common file. Now see what happened. So here x, I have taken x out of the permissions that the user has. So rw hyphen. Similarly, if I want to give it, say I want to remove it from group now. Alright, and I want to remove w. Okay, it got removed. So you can say if you want to perform two operations, okay, you can use the comma separated one, o minus rwx. Okay, so everything has been removed. So these are two notations. Okay, you can grant read, write, execute permissions. So similarly, just like I have granted the permissions to normal users, you can grant it to the folders as well. Alright, so this is about permissions. Now, another important thing that you should remember about permissions is the umask value. Okay, there is something called umask. Okay, so that is the default permissions that are set when you create a file or a folder. Okay, see, touch F1, F2. So I've only created the files, I have not granted any permissions. So these files, they got created with some default permissions. Okay, so this is what your umask value is for. Okay, so by default every user will have a umask value. So say umask 2, I'll make it simple. Okay, now F3, F4, and then I'll create a directory dir1. Okay, ls-l. We'll take one example first. See, so this is how you have to calculate. By default, the total permissions. See, if you have granted all permissions to everyone, that means owner all permission, read, write, execute, 4 plus 2 plus 1, 7, like that to the group, to the owner, 7, 7, 7. Okay, so by default, 777 is the maximum value that we can grant to everyone. Okay, so when we have set some umask value, you need to subtract the umask value from the maximum value in order to get the existing value. Okay, let me repeat. By default, 777 is max that we can give. From this, you need to subtract the umask, then you will get whatever resultant you get. Here it is 555. So ideally it should be 555. Whatever you have given, from that you need to subtract 222. Whatever result comes, so that will be the default value that will be set for the files as well as the directories. So here it is 444. Let me see what is assigned to the directory. Alright. So it seems there are, so for directory, if you observe rwx, so here 2 is missing, here w2 is missing, here w2 is missing. Alright, so from the total value we need to subtract the umask in order to get the values for the default files and directories that we create. Okay, so if you want to change, so whatever manually using umask space numbers that I've given, so that is the temporary change. If you want to make a permanent change, what you can do is there is a file called under the home directory. Yeah, so we have files called bash_profile or bash rc, and this profile you can simply define here umask is equal to whatever value you want. So the next time you log in as this particular user, so all the variables here you can see, alias names, everything these get sourced. Okay, and automatically the new value will get picked up. Okay, so like the way we have declared path value, similarly we can define the umask value as a variable here, and automatically that will be assigned to the newly created files and directories. Okay, so here we have seen rwx, okay, now we'll see how to create users and groups, and then we'll come back to this topic. Then we'll see SUID, SGID, set user ID. These are 2 bits that are set to the users groups, and then we'll see sticky bit. Okay, let's see how to create users and how to create groups now. So I've been opening this file. Alright, so this is the file. If you create a particular user, yes, Rajkumar, I'll come to sticky bit. I'll explain SUID, SGID and sticky bit as well. Okay, so in the password file, so this is the file related to the users. So the moment we create a user, an entry gets created in the password file. Say in order to create a user, we go with user add command, user add, say John. Okay, so the next moment an entry got created here. So here, this is the first field is the user, second field X, this is the password field, then we have the user ID, then we have a group ID. See, this group doesn't exist. The moment we create a user, the corresponding group with the same name, that is a private group for this particular user. Okay, so that group would get created automatically, and then we have that particular user's home directory, and this is the default shell that will be allocated when this particular user logs into the system. All right, so we'll see a couple of options here. Other than, so with respect, when you create a user, okay, there are two important files which would get updated. One is etc password, another one is etc shadow. Alright, so there is an entry in the shadow. So I'll come back, I'll explain you the entries in the shadow file as well. And there is another file called etc group. Okay, this is the third file. Since a private group got created with the same name, there will be an entry in the group as well, and then there is G shadow. Okay, so all totally there are 4 configuration files: etc password, etc shadow, user related, etc group, etc G shadow is related to the groups. Okay, so I have just created a user called username John, and there are 4 important configuration files that I've showed you that would get updated: etc password, etc shadow, etc group, etc G shadow. Alright, now apart from these 4 configuration files, by default when we create a user using user add command, so under the home directory with the name of that particular user, with the name of that user, a folder would get created. Okay, and inside that folder you would get to see all the default files. Okay, every time you create a user, all these entries would get created inside that particular user's home directory. In fact, if you observe, right, so the same set of files are present inside etc skell as well. So if you ask me, when we create a user, so how does these files get generated? So by default, when a user gets created, all the default files that are part of etc skell, they will get copied to that user's home directory. So that these are the list of steps that would happen. So a folder will get created, content from skell will get copied to user's home directory, alright, and then all the 4 important configuration files would get updated. Okay, so we have already seen etc password file. Okay, here, so the password is not given. We have the user ID and we have the group ID, home directory, and the default shell. So for user add, we have used user add command. So there are obviously there would be a lot of arguments using which you can change the user ID. That means it would randomly generate IDs. If you observe all the users here, alright, in a typical Linux system, user IDs or group IDs less than 500 the first 500 would be allocated to the system users. Alright, mostly above 500, whatever users that we create, those user IDs would be more than 500, but it is possible to change the user ID and group ID as well. The root, the root user, he cannot see the password, but the root user or the administrator can change the password of other users. Alright, we'll see that as well. So here password is not present, okay, but password is stored in the system in an encrypted format. For that you need to go to this place. First of all, I have not set the password for the user John. Alright, let me quickly set it. See, now I'm a root user, right? And I'm setting a password for John. All tokens successfully updated. Okay, now you can see the encrypted password. Again updated. Again the shadow file will also get updated. Okay, so the root user cannot see it, but he can change the password of the normal users. Okay, and here let's see the other parameters here. If you observe, right, the username and the password, and here there are some other options. We'll see what these options are. So they are related to the password aging policy, right? So how long the password should be active, or when was the last time the user has changed the password. Like that we have a command. We will see that command. Okay, for that ls-l etc shadow. Okay, what I'll do is I'll open two terminals so that I can parallelly execute and show you if others can access it. Okay. I mean, you can already see that there are no permissions, right? Completely they're blank. That means no permissions has been given to any user. So by default, it's like if you count this, the first hyphen will be for, it says whether it is a file or directory, and then you have 1, 2, 3 for owner, and then next 3 for group, and the next 3 for others. So even though the owner is root here and no permissions are set, root by default can access any file or folder. It's only for the root user, even if permissions are not set, he can access the files. Okay. All right. So now we are done with this. Yes, root can change the permissions as well. Root user, I mean, is the administrator. He can perform any kind of operations and rest. Alright, what I'll do is I'll quickly delete the user now. Oops. User del. So just like user creation process, even during user deletion, all the 4 files will be modified. I'll show only one file, so there is no user here. Okay, then we need to check home directory. Okay, so the folder and the content are still present. Okay, so what we'll do is, so for that, user add John, I've added again. See here, this message says the home directory already exists. Okay, because this did not get deleted last time. So not copying any file from skel directory. So it's clear that /etc/skel is the directory that contains all the default files that would get copied to user's home directory. So what you can try doing is, say you set up a network, and by default, by the time you create a user, you want some default files to be present in that user's home directory. So what you can try doing is keep some files inside etc skel and try create users, see if they get copied automatically or not. Maybe that's something you can try. Alright, so now I've created the user again. Since that folder is already present, the files are not copied now. So if you want to delete a user along with the home directory, so you need to use the -r option. Alright, so that will delete all the files as well. Okay, so this is how we now individually what we can do is as the root user you can change the default shell that is assigned to the users. Alright, I think I have not shown this before. So there is a command, we'll see this, echo $shell, it's bin bash. Okay, so what I want to do is then I showed you this file etc shells. This is the list of shells, but we need to cross check whether these are present or not, the corresponding. Alright, bin bash csh dash, alright, these are present. So there is a command called chsh, alright, then bin dash. Okay, now I need to exit out of the system, log out and then logging back. Then automatically by default I'll be able to use the bin dash shell. Okay, so this is how you can switch shells if you want to. So the primary thing that you would observe when you switch from bash to other shells would be with respect to the features. Like here, whatever previous commands that you can see, those features wouldn't be available, and we have this control R option where we can reverse search the commands that we have used. Those options are not available. Like that, most of the command line features that are helpful for you, they'll not be available with respect to the other shells. So that's why most of the time we stick to the bash shell. And yes, Rajkumar, I have unmuted you.
Yeah, you came up with a very interesting topic, the shell, changing shells. Before that, I just wanted to know, you create a user with the default shell, even if the user has been configured to use a default shell, he can use. So how does that work? Means
other shells in the system.
Other shell means I wrote a script, maybe that is a script called XYZ, and it has been configured, say, with a default is a bash, and when I actually execute like XYZ, it will invoke the bash file, or how does that work? Means, say if I have if I'm using a con shell command specifically in that one, and the default has been set to the bash one, and I just executed XYZ. So how does that going to take? Means I'm assuming it should read from some file and then interpret that this is the default shell and invoke it, right? How does that work? Because configuring is just one default shell you are setting, but the user can be is free to use any shell, right? In general, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is something which you can set in the top of the shell script where you have this shebang line, right? There you can define the shell, the interpreter that is responsible for interpreting the script.
Oh, what is it called? The shebang or something like that, right?
Yeah. It will be hash exclamatory.
Okay.
That will be mentioned. That is the interpreter that interprets your script. So this one is as a by default whatever shell that you have. If you want to switch shells, let me take that. Okay, here we have admin user chsh. Okay. In bash shell changed.
Okay.
I will exit. Alright, see.
Okay.
Alright, see. Now I'm trying to use the upward arrow. It's not working.
Oh,
I need to type the commands manually. It will not work in this shell. So this is bin dash. Okay. So this is how I've switched the shell. I've logged in. Here I'll use Control R. See, that's what it prints. So it will not get me those. Here we have a command called history. I don't know if it works here.
So
History
what did you
permission
do?
denied.
The arrows mark, how did you change that? Control R?
Which one?
The Control R means how are you able to get rid of back arrows?
No, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. In this is bash. Okay, you can see this side it is bash, this side it is a different dash. DASH. Okay, this is bash. Here if I use Control R, Control R is basically to reverse it. Whatever commands I have used before, I'll simply type ls. It will give you the last ls command that I've used.
Okay.
So that is the advantage. Say you have used some big commands before, or otherwise, see, I'll change it user. So it will display the entire line that I've used before. It will remember all the commands that I've used.
Okay.
Usually right here in the dash shell, if I do the same, if I press Control R, it simply prints that Control R button. Whatever it is there, it prints it on the screen, but it will not reverse search for me. So that feature is not available. That is what I mean to say. Okay. In this tab, I pressed Control R. It didn't work. So Control C, I cancelled it. And upward arrow, downward arrow. See, this is how it is. Left and right. So, say ls/home.
How to get rid of the control character? How to use that one then?
I mean, that feature is not supported in this shell. That is what I meant to say.
Okay, it is not at all supported.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, here, right? Yeah, all those command line features that are present with bash, they are not present here.
Okay. Some setting like STTYT raise control A or something they used to. I don't remember. Is there a way to? Means if I am switching to a different, means I know I have two users in account, and one user is default is bash shell. I think he has all these control A characters. I don't know how to get rid of it, but I'm just asking. I don't know how to get rid of that.
So, I mean, switching to bash again. By switching to bash, you'll have all these features.
Okay, but bash itself means I'm just here. I'm trying to get deep because this is a very common problem in everyday life when you work with Unix shells and also just trying to understand it. So each shell, what you meant to say is each shell has its own kind of control buttons, right? The keyboard strokes. It is different from shell to shell. It might be different from shell to shell, right? Is that what you're saying? Some are not supported. Yes. Some. Okay. And how do we know that which one? Is there a manual like
now that
is any help like is there any on the system something to find out like about this one?
I'll tell you that now that you are aware of all the bash features. So we'll just have a general discussion about comparing these shells by the end of the session. We'll push it. Okay. We'll definitely have a discussion on this.
Okay. No, I'm not asking to comparison of the shells, but if a particular shell means the issue that you encountered right now, right? You said like the dash or this one. Doesn't support, right? Okay.
If you have seen my screen, right? I just type man CSH.
Okay.
That is corresponding shell. So there are man pages available with every shell. If it
Okay.
is installed, then you should be getting a man page. So you can go through those features. All right.
Okay. Okay.
Just go through these features. But
Oh,
most of the features are available with Bash, so we'll stick to Bash most of the time.
okay.
All right. So I'll keep you on mute now.
Mhm.
Yes, Prasad. I will also cover the pseudo related stuff. Okay. Maybe since I have covered user creation now, I will also finish the pseudo part now itself. But I think pseudo is in a different module. So now that we have created the users, okay, so you have been seeing me using su command a lot. Su is for switching from one user to another user, right? So su admin user. So there are only two important things with su. So one is when you have switched to admin user using the default su command, what is the working directory where you have landed in? All right, it is /root. Previously you were under /root itself. Okay. The second thing is su space hyphen admin user. Okay. Now you are under the home directory. So it's up to you. If you want to move to the home directory, you select hyphen, else you stick to this itself. Okay. So this is about su. Now there is another important feature that is the pseudo feature. So it is mainly used in order to perform some restricted admin tasks in the system. All right. So that would be used like in most of the Linux administration tasks. So rather than directly logging into the system as the root user, what we do is either you grant access to some specific users who are part of the admin group. So what you do is you create a group and you add some users to that group, and for these users you give some restricted admin access. All right, then those users can handle the admin job for you, rather than, it is not at all recommended to log in and perform the root tasks as a root user. So the most important file with respect to this is etc sudoers. All right, here. So if you observe here, so there are a lot of there would be by default only one user that is configured here. All right, so allow root to perform all kinds of operations, okay, and all the shells anywhere in the system. All right, so this is the only configuration available. So this is where we need to define either the groups or the users who can be granted pseudo access. Once you grant a pseudo access in this file, automatically the user will get pseudo access. Then in order to perform an operation, I'll give you a quick example. Say the user config, fdisk -l, it's working. Oh, it's root admin user. Okay, so fdisk-l will not work because he doesn't have sufficient privileges. Okay, whereas the same will give me output if I run as a root user. So what I can do is, so I can grant permissions to this user John so that he'll be able to perform a similar operation. Alright, so then once the privileges are granted, he need to use sudo. Alright, so reconfirm, he has to give his password. Alright. Oops. Okay, so this is the process. So every time you use the sudo command, okay, for not only this, if you want to perform some partitions or if you want to configure some network, alright, so all these features, they can be categorized and the corresponding commands can be granted access to. So by default, when you use a sudo, the system will warn you because you will be performing admin tasks. Then you need to give the password. Since John is not part of the sudo file, this command will not get executed. So what I'll do is, I'll quickly make changes in sudo. Okay. Sorry. So actually, we do not edit this particular file directly. It is sudo. Okay, there is a command called vi sudo. Okay, so you need to use that command, and when you open the file, you can get to see all the list of categorized commands with respect to networking. Okay, so there is an alias name. What you can do is, you can simply remove the hash. So you have this alias. You can simply assign this alias word to that user. So let us go with the default way of, we'll take a simple example. Here it is. Okay, and this is very important. If you are not supposed to directly modify etc sudo file. Okay, now yes, I'm showing you how to add a user here. Alright, so you have seen here, once I have added the user to the sudo list. Okay, this command has got executed. Alright, so like this you can create a user in your system and grant sudo access. So by default, if you are performing an Ubuntu installation, the Ubuntu user will have a default sudo access. Okay, and okay, here what we can do is, if we have to perform, if you want to give individual, if you want to grant individual access, right? Say here we have multiple things. See, for networking, there is already an alias that got created. You can simply unhash, remove the hash, and you can add this networking in the last line. Instead of all, you can add that over there. Alright, okay, you take this particular example. Okay, so for all system related services, this is how the permissions are granted. Okay, this is a better example for you. So similarly, what you can do is, you can create some 4 or 5 users. Okay, so here, okay, so Rajkumar, here for the root user, all permissions have been granted. Okay, he is able to execute each and every permission, every command in the system. He can do anything in the system, right? For John, I showed you how to, initially I have used the sudo command in order to execute fdisk-l but he was unable to execute that before. It thrown an error that this particular user is not in the sudo list. Okay, so after that what I did was I've simply added him and I've granted him all permissions here. Yeah, one second. Yes, Rajkumar.
Yeah, so the entries that you were saying via sudo, we open this file, and so this is I'm able to understand, like, after only once you add this one, he'll get John will be getting the privileges. I'm able to
Okay.
understand, but what kind of, like, means what are the different options we can control here, like your what does it all equal to all mean, like, means if I have like 10 users, so
Yeah.
all the 10 users can be added here. All the 10 users should be in this file, right? If all 10 users should have a complete root, then does it mean all 10 users should be included in this file at that particular time?
I was about to explain that portion,
Oh,
Rajkumar. So
okay.
here, if you go through this file, so there are two different things. One is the way the services or say commands are categorized. So network related commands. Alright.
Okay.
Similarly, software installation commands here. If you see my screen, so related to storage. So these are all the commands, and there is an alias name that has been defined here. If you want, you can create your own alias, and you
Okay.
can define your own commands. Say here, I'll make an entry.
Okay. Okay.
I'll say command underscore alias current, and I'll pick few commands, this or this, like that, 3 or 4. I'll add it here. Okay, so
Right.
once I've made the change, I have my own alias that I have defined. Then, so this is one group. The second group is you can have multiple users, multiple groups in your system. Okay, so if you are clear that there is a group of users who must be given this specific permission that I have created now, what you can do is you can come to this line, and here you can define that group, and instead of all, okay, you have a lot of examples here. So instead of all, you can give that alias name. Then under that alias name, whatever commands are there, so the users in this particular group, they will be able to execute those commands.
So there are two lines, John all equal to all, and then all. There are like 3 entries, right? John is a username, and all equal to all, meaning what is that second one?
He will be able to perform all sorts of commands on
Okay.
it's like on all kinds of services
Okay.
related to all kinds of services.
Related to all. Okay. The first one is the type of.
We
Okay. How do I know? How do I understand, like, which one refers to what? Means, say you.
I'm showing you the corresponding examples now. That is what. So then it will be more clear for you, right?
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay. Just a minute. Yeah. Okay. See here. There is a group called users. Okay. So here it is clear that allow members of the users group to mount and unmount the CD-ROM as a root user. Alright. So percentage users, this is the group. So all members of this group will be able to execute these commands. Okay. Similarly, so it is the group declaration here. Okay. Similarly, there is another group called sys. Okay. So all members of this sys group will be able to run all the commands that are present as a part of these alias names. Alright, so you can quickly start creating normal user, okay, and then you can say the syntax is the same, all, even if it is a group or a particular user, okay, and then you can see no password means you can give this okay, you are referring to the one where the sudo should not be asked for a password, right? Okay. But by default, in all the cases, it is mandatory. So no password is usually given. If you observe here, right, there is a no login shell. Correspondingly, there is a no password option which will be given for system processes. But users usually, I mean, you can, if you are setting up your network, maybe you can configure it. Yes, this option would help you enable that feature. All right. So like that, here you can create multiple alias names. You can create groups, add users to that group, and add the group here. Okay, and then you can test out all the individual aliases if the users are able to execute, you know, those specific set of commands or not. Okay, so try these options and let me know if you have any issues. Then we will go ahead with group management. So some of the other options which you can see in the PPT is so if you want to see, this field is empty here. Alright, so if you want to specify something, some comments about the user, so you can do that using the -c argument. I missed that argument. Okay, and the next thing is regarding the groups. Okay, so by default this group gets created. So there is an option called -n. So John maybe. Now, so what we can do is we can group, we can bypass the user from creating a default group. So here the user ID is 505, but he's not part of the group ID which is 505. Okay, so so there is a default group in your system, that is users. We have seen the same ID in the etc in the sudo file. There is a percentage users group, right? So by default, if you don't want a user to be part of his private group, what you can do is you can simply use -n option, then automatically he'll be part of the default users group in the system. Okay, similarly, well, what I will do is we'll just quickly, it's about adding users and then adding the groups, some of the basic commands. If there is something to explain deep about any of the topic, I'll go through, I'll show that, but now I'll just take you through the PPTs. Yeah, so here, so as you have asked me, can we change the user ID, can we change the group ID? Similarly, can I have a different home directory other than the one that gets generated under /home? Okay, so for that there is an argument. Like that, you can even change the default shell that you want at the time of creating the user or even after creating the user. So we have seen ch/sh, right? Right, see this admin user. Okay, so what I did using ch/sh, I have changed the default shell, right? So similarly, so at the time of creating the user, you can change the default shell, you can change the home directory, so and you can change the user ID, group ID. Similarly, after creating the user also, you can change these values. Okay, so user add is the command which you will use if you want to make any changes. You add additional arguments at the time of creating the user, and user mod is the command which we can use to modify the existing entries of a particular user. Okay, so those entries would include all the values that we have seen so far. So the -d argument will change the home directory. Similarly, you can change the user ID. All right, so if you have observed here, as I've said before, okay, so top 100 500 user or group IDs are reserved for system users and groups. Okay, so most of the users that you create, all of the users that you create will have user ID or group ID greater than 500. Okay, similarly user del, we have seen this option. So if you use it by default, it will only delete the user and it will delete the user from all the, deleting a user means deleting the entry of that user from the configuration files. Okay, but the home directory would remain, so you need to use -r option in order to remove the directory as well. Okay, so user del -r. Then we have something called -f. Even if the user is logged in, you can remove the user. Next, just like the set of commands, you can correlate them to group creation and group modification as well. All right, just like we have two files, etc password and shadow. Similarly, we have etc group and we'll see that. Okay, we have seen etc group, right? So this contains the group. The password is not given, so yes, it is possible to set up password for group as well. All right, and so this is the group ID and these are the groups to which this particular user belongs to. All right, so once again, this is the user. Okay, so this user, this password is not displayed, and then you have your user ID, the group ID, and then the other groups that the user belongs to. So it is like every user will be part of one primary group and he can be part of multiple secondary groups. Okay, he can be part of one primary and multiple secondary groups. So what we can do is, we can create at the time of creating a user, we can say -g. I will make him as a part of the root, and the secondary I will put him in admin user. Okay, and say Apple. So I've just created a user, and he's part of, his primary group is root and his secondary group is okay. Let's see. I think he has been added to the default users. Maybe I did some mistake with my syntax. Okay, so let me check. Okay. All right. So that's fine. So you can simply go through other options which are here. So we can so all these arguments are helpful in adding the users. Similarly, like these two important configuration file, we have corresponding configuration files with respect to groups as well. So we have seen the group file. Then there is another file called gshadow that contains the encrypted group password if you have set to the groups. All right. So see, in an organization, you can have multiple administrators. Okay, so if you want to restrict a particular group from restrict other admin users, okay, so from modifying the contents of that particular group, then what you can do is you can restrict passwords. It's like now we are simply talking about users and basic groups, but at an organization level they are much more complicated. You'll have multiple users and multiple groups based on organization, based on like that. A lot of different categories could be there. So there is a feature available, and we can make use of that feature right there. Okay, so here, yeah, you can see a group has been added with a group ID, or by default you can simply go. Let's see the difference between group add, new group. Okay, it has been given 505. If you observe, see here. So 505, it is a user ID that has been already allocated to Febby, but at the time of creating this user, I said no for creating the default group, so it has assigned 100. So the next available group ID is 505. So it will follow that particular order. Assign the next available group ID to the newly created group. Okay. So here. Okay. I will put 700 to oops, sorry. This is the user. So I have created a group called new group. Tail. So whatever group ID I want, that has been allocated. So that is how we can change the IDs for the corresponding. I mean, we can change the group IDs, and syntax is pretty much similar. As we can see here, we can add users to groups. We have seen how to add groups to users before using group mod or group add at the time of creation as well as after creation. Similarly, you can use this g passwd command in order to add users to the groups. Okay, when will the password used? No, see, if you have set up a password to a particular group, try set up a password to a group first, okay, and then try adding a user to that group. All right, see if it asks you for a password. Okay, similarly we can delete users. So I'll simply move on. These are all basic commands: renaming, adding the group. Okay, just like same to user administration. Yes, for admin tasks. Right. So almost all the commands same user add and group mod. So I just wanted to finish password aging policies today. So I've skipped few of the arguments for group addition. Please go through the commands. Let me know if you have any questions. So all the syntax and the commands are given in the PPT. Then we'll see password aging. We'll wrap up with this topic. So we have a command called chage. I'll use that for newly created user called John. Okay, see, so changing the aging information for John. Okay, so enter the new value or press enter for the default. So this is mainly chage command is mainly to set up if you want to how long a user will be active in the system. Okay, you can set those things when the account can become inactive. If say imagine that you have created temporary users, okay, for some people who have visited, who want to perform some set of tasks. So you need not have to enable these users for the entire duration. So you can set up the password, or say if you already set, there are other features as well, like how often should the password must be reset. Okay, and it also says when was the last time the password has been changed. We'll just go through these. So whatever options you are seeing here, you can modify all those options. So here minimum and maximum password age, you can see the last modified date. If you want, you can modify these things. All right. Then password expiration warning. So before the password gets expired, the user should be just like the warnings that you see on a typical Windows machine. Before your password gets expired, it will ask you to reset your password. So the root user will be able to run this command and execute all these tasks for you. All right. So by making changes to this default values, we can even deactivate the existing users in the system. All right, like that we can. So you can either directly go with chase command, manually check what the current, or go with chase-l, say for user John. So it says all the values. chage-l by default, it displays all the existing values for the users. So either you can first of all you can check like this, or go with default chase command, or we can also individually modify the settings. So here root user can change password for any user in the system. Okay. So some of the arguments that are available are this one. So say both the ways you can make the changes. So if you want to individually make the changes, you can go with some of this. There are not many, 2 or 3 arguments. So using those arguments, you can make the changes to the users. Okay. So this is where I'll stop, and we'll proceed. The next session we'll go with, there are a few slides left. We'll go ahead with the tomorrow's session. And yes, Rajkumar, I have unmuted you. You were asking something.
Yeah. Yes. This is a general question, maybe a command or a script or whatever. I don't know. What I wanted to know is, on a system, if I want to list all the groups, okay, and all users under that group, how do I do that? Like say gr1, user 1, user 2, user 3. Next line, gr2, user X, user Y. I wanted to etc groups.
One second. It is possible. I think it is. 1 second. Groups. Okay, can you see that?
Groups bin.
In etc. No, what I did is I have taken a random group.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the group name is bin. All right.
Bin in the first line.
And I want to See, left side,
So this
this
is
is
the
the
password,
user.
this is the username. Okay, and
He
okay,
belongs to these two groups.
okay,
He
okay.
belongs to these two groups. So
Group.
I said, okay, let me see how many users are part of this group. So what I did, simply groups space bin, or we'll do groups space root. There is a group called root as well, so only root is part of it. Okay, and any other group you remember? I think there is something called admin user. He's the only person who is part of that group.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use this groups command. You can get a
Groups
list of
command
all the
will
groups.
list
All the users.
the groups and the group name will list all the users, right? You were saying,
Group and the
and the group
list of
name.
users who are part of that group. Yeah, who are part of that group. Or I mean, I've taken system users, so it's confusing for you. What I'll do is I'll take it's not hard.
So basically, groups is the command you are saying, right?
Groups is the command.
Okay.
So what it should do is it should display the group and the
So
corresponding
what is the
users
argument?
who are part of the group.
What is the argument for the groups command? It is the username, the group name, right? Groups, group name.
It's the group name. Yeah.
Okay, groups and group name. Okay. Into the groups a user is in. Okay, username. Okay, groups and the username for each username. Okay, groups. Okay, I think
Similarly, you have
Hmm. Similarly,
you have
users
yeah.
also.
Similarly,
I have users.
yeah. I think it is UID. It's not installed here. Some of the commands are not installed.
Okay.
UID space username. It should give you. Let me see that. What is part of the package?
And, are you using a virtual box or a VMware? You're using virtual box, I guess, right? Oracle virtual box.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll see that
Okay.
in the packages they vary, but there is a command called UID. I'll check that and I'll tell you tomorrow.
There is nothing like a users because groups means there is no users. No, right?
No, it will display the user ID for you. So the user who is currently logged in, what is the user ID? What is this group ID? I forgot that command. I'll check that. I'll tell you tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, no problem. So groups is the command. Okay. Okay. And one more question is, say I have a CentOS laptop which I set up like 3 or 4 VMs. Every time I have to run some command to disable a firewall which requires a sudo. So what I do is manually I do a su root on each VM and then execute it to run that script. If I want to automate something which should be run as a root, can it be done? Like can I give su root and can I execute a script which has means I would be logging this as another user, but say user 1, say user Raj has some application. I will be logging as Raj, but I want to run it as a root, like giving a password and like whatever I am doing it manually. I want to automate that. How is it possible?
Yes, it is possible.
Okay.
So in the remote machines, you're saying that you're logging into the remote machine, doing SU to the root user, and then you're running the script. So the first option, as you have said here, you can set up a cron job that will run the command for you. As a root user, you have the script, you set up a cron job, automatically the cron will execute that particular script. Okay,
No.
so that is
Okay.
one option.
Okay.
Second option, giving you all the options. The second option is you create a user, grant him sudo access, all right, and then set up that no password thing, or you need to pass the password as an argument inside that script and then execute that script. Okay, even that you put it, you give it to cron, the cron will regularly execute that for you. So that is the second option.
Okay. Okay. So the second option, I think you explained it, but you explained in the class today. So if the user Raj has to have a root has to execute something like that, he has to be in the sudo file, right?
Yes, he has to be in the sudo file. And there is another other option as well. I'll explain that to you tomorrow. That we could not cover today.
Okay.
So I think that concept is also applicable for your case. We will see that. I'll explain that topic tomorrow. I'll give you an example. After seeing that example, maybe you'll be clear whether it is applicable for your case or not.
Okay, that's fine. Actually, yeah, that is so today in this class I don't know, I might have I might have not followed that, but did you mention that if say user Raj needs to be in the sudo file, whether there is if I have to log in as a root, is there an option that no password and without password? Did you cover that?
No, I have only, that is what his name, Prasad has asked me.
Okay.
Whether it is mandatory to give password. I told him that most of the time all the users, even if they have sudo access, they will be asked to give the password, but it is possible. So there is a word called no passwd inside the sudo configuration file. If you set that, then it will not ask you for the password. But usually for all the users in the system, it is recommended to enable it. So for your Linux VMs, if you want, you can set that option.
Okay. So generally any user X, if they want to execute as user Y, they might be totally different groups or anything, but user X is wanted to log in as user Y with a password. So that kind of thing I'm expecting. I mean, in this case, Y has to be root. Yeah, in this case, Y happens to be root, but generally also I wanted like X.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll cover. I think that example would definitely.
Okay.
It will suit you.
And Sharan, I just wanted to know, like, what means? Are you are you a Unix system administrator currently?
No, I have prior experience as a system administrator.
Okay. Well, so what is okay? That's fine. What is your major means? I just wanted to know if you are okay to discuss.
No, currently. I mean, I'll just tell you, but I mean, throughout my career, I've been working on Linux systems. I have prior admin experience, but nowadays I'm mostly into distributed systems, NoSQL technologies.
Oh, NoSQL. Okay. So you are in the big data area. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Means I just wanted to know so that I'm basically into data warehousing and ETL. I had a lot of experience on that. I am working right now on Hadoop actually. So development, I'm doing development on Hive, Pig, and some MapReduce, all this stuff. So I wanted to get good knowledge on Hadoop administration also. So I'm exploring a lot on setting up some cluster at my home on virtual machines and all that. So that is one thing. So that's why I joined this class to to get a grip on. So basically, if I have to, why I means the biggest showstopper for me is this networking at home. If I have like three machines, how should I configure all that things? Is um, uh, I wanted to have a clear understanding on that. I know CentOS is like Linux has a lot of it's pretty configurable. So many things to like so many options you have. So I just want to know at least a basic level, like how the networking portion is done with some solid fundamentals. So if I means even if my idea is to set up a network, even if I move to a different place, or if I take to these three machines and connect to a router, the three machines should be able to able to talk to each other, something like that. So a mobile cluster wherein I can set up my own
what I'll do is when the networking topic comes,
okay.
I'll though you will not get you may not have those things in the presentation part, but orally I can explain you some basics about networking, how what is a subnet, okay, what are private and public IP addresses, and how to create a very small basic network that I'll cover at that time. Then accordingly you can go ahead with the and I'll make sure that even if you move to a different place, you should be in a position to easily configure your network. I'll definitely cover that.
Okay, that would be of great help.
Yeah, sure.
If you can share me your email ID for any questions, that would be great, because I will be sending if I have any questions. Can you? Email you.
I mean, it's NSK.
NSK.
101010.
101010.
Yeah.
NSK. So 101010. Okay.
So at gmail.com. I mean, I guess that's. I mean, if you point cursor on my name, I guess that's the ID that you would see, right?
I'm not able to see it in the chat window.
Yes.
I'm not able to see the ID though.
Attendance. Okay, that's okay. Or you can always send your queries to this support at Edureka. The email ID is there.
Okay.
So either way, I'll be available.
Okay. Okay. Just some basic questions. If I have, I will shoot an email. Yes. Okay. Hope you will answer my questions.
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Okay.
Okay, Rajkumar. Then.
Okay.
That's all for today. We'll see you tomorrow.
And tomorrow, what would be the main objective tomorrow?
The first thing is there are some more topics with respect to permissions, a little bit on advanced security concepts.
Okay.
And then in the next module, I just don't remember. Oh, one second. Let me. Yeah, here. Other than this SUID and SGID part, we have some network authentication. So this is only limited to the client setup.
Okay.
Say if you have an NAS server or an LDAP server, how do you configure your system in order to connect to that server?
Okay.
To show a NAS server configuration, but it's not part of the course. If time permits, I'll try that. Then we have SUID, SGID, sticky bit. These permissions which I've already covered in the beginning. Then we have next level of security. I mean, the first one is the general permissions, RWX, the basic file permissions. Next comes SUID, SGID, and sticky bit. Then comes your ACLs, access control list.
Okay.
Then there is another level. It's about hardware extraction layer and all those.
Okay.
And then we have advanced Linux, security enhanced Linux. So we'll go till that.
Okay.
So we'll see access control list, why these are used, all this. Maybe the first half it will cover all these topics.
Okay.
All right?
So okay. General question, one more in the big data NoSQL. You are in the HBase or
MongoDB.
MongoDB. Okay. So how do you means you are in development or MongoDB admin or a combination?
I'm into architecture side.
Architecture side. Okay. So my goal, the exact means I just wanted to know. I am also go into that line, actual architecture. So my goal is not to do like a system administration, hardcore create users and all, but a high level understanding. As you know, like for architects, this is important, right? So do you strongly feel that this is a good means you need to have a lot of Unix knowledge, I guess, right?
Yes, definitely. I mean, even Hadoop, the area which is there, any open source that comes out, it would first be, developed for Linux systems, then it will gradually be moved on to the Windows side, right? Most of the support would be on Linux itself. The development would be on Linux itself. So you need a sound understanding of the Linux system and how to configure how things work in a Linux system.